So, do you ever arrive at the hairdresser knowing you're getting bangs, then decide perhaps a bob is a better idea, then settle for a wash and trim? Do you ever wake up on game day struggling to decide whether you go out to watch the Boca or stay home to watch the Boca? Do you ever think you should get a tattoo, then decide you can't decide between a heart and a star and whether it's on your ankle or your wrist? If yes, you are a sufferer of indecisiveness. Wait, is that indecisiveness or the inability to decide? My close friends often tune me about my accent. They say I sound kind of like a Joburg Kugel crossed with an Eastern Cape farmer. So apologies in advance. If you can't tell what I'm saying, just smile and wave. Now this all got me thinking about the way I talk and what I say. I realized when I'm asked to answer a question, I repeat the first possible answer, then the second possible answer, then I say it could be either, I don't know, whatever, what do you think? Now, as I'm sure you've noticed, I'm a sufferer of indecisiveness. So what exactly is indecisiveness? I'm sure you've all heard the saying, jack of all trades, master of none. When first coming across this, I figured that my indecisiveness in the past has made me unable to specialize, unable to become a master of anything. After 3 days of crying, 25 brownies and 17 antidepressants, how many of you knew there was another part to the saying, and why the hell didn't you tell me? The full saying actually reads, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. This is the first time I realized perhaps my indecisiveness wasn't all bad, and perhaps being a jack of all trades meant I could be a master of many. So the indecisive, an individual who has a hard time making decisions and gets stressed when pushed to do so. Now, I haven't been indecisive for all of my life. In fact, as I've grown up, I've become more and more indecisive, all because of one dreaded question. Now, let me just put out a disclaimer. This may be offensive to certain viewers. The dreaded question, what do you want to be when you grow up? When I was 3, I was given my first makeup palette. I would practice on everyone and take my makeup with me wherever I go. In some cases, I would even make do using pens or mud. As you can see, I had quite the talent, but this wasn't enough to pursue my passion. Then in grade 1, I wrote a letter to my future self. I was going to be a professional ballerina. I followed this, and then in grade 3 realized, no, this is not for me. Now this was the hardest part, the in-between, when people used to ask what I wanted to be, and I had absolutely no idea. I had to answer, I don't know, much like I would today. Anyway, let me carry on my journey. In grade 9, I went to an educational psychologist. He told me I could do anything from design to health. Yeah, thanks, Prof. That really gave me a lot of direction. Anyway, I tried with OT. Because the first educational psychologist was so helpful, I went to another, and he gave me a little bit more direction, perhaps a little too much. I loved it, tried it out, job shadowed one, until he handed me a pair of brown boots, a yellow jacket, and a hard hat. After all, the one thing I did know was that I was going to wear heels. I even spent my days practicing this. Now I was lost, unable to figure out what to do or where to even start looking. I had to decide on a degree, so I decided on the broadest thing I could possibly find, a PPE. I know that's not party every day. It was philosophy, politics, and economics, not even having to choose between a BA and a BCom. This was all great until my 3 years went a little too fast for my liking, and yet again, I was faced with the same dreaded question. I'd been to visit Red and Yellow, heard a lot about it, absolutely fell in love with the school, heard Mac was the absolute best, and decided, perfect, marketing's for me. Now let me just point out a trend. I dreamt of being a makeup artist, I tried it, and I changed it. Dreamt of being a ballerina, tried it, changed it. Dreamt of being an OT, tried it, changed it. So what's the trend? Dream it, try it, change it. This past year, I realized a lot. Dreaming something is probably not a good thing for me, for starters. In fact, I'm actually waiting for the day I dream to be a billionaire, try it, and it sticks. This last year made me think a lot. In fact, it didn't hit me until the other day when my little cousin asked me in her kind witch Halloween outfit, "Meg, what did you want to be when you were older, when you were grown up?" I didn't want to completely crush her dreams now that I was grown up and had absolutely no idea. Constantly in life, we're forced to make these life-changing decisions, ones which expect us to kind of read the future, when in fact nobody really knows how to and what will even come tomorrow. The dreaded question is the perfect example of this. When being asked what we want to be when we grow up, at a young age, we're taught to dream and to dream big. But then we reach 22, more indecisive as ever, and yet again forced to answer the same question. However, now we're taught not to dream. We're taught to be realistic, to put ourselves into a tiny box and decide what we want to be for the rest of our lives. We're forced to choose our destiny and the path that we want to follow, as if telling the future is more realistic than wanting to be a ballerina. This is when I realized that the question my little cousin asked me, what I wanted to be when I was grown up, she never assumed I was grown up. That was all me. There is, in fact, no age limit to being grown up, and if I only know what I want when I'm 80, well, that's okay. We live in an incredibly uncertain world, and more so in this past year. This year, almost everyone I've spoken to, and I've spoken to many, have asked what I'm doing with my life and what I'm planning to do next year. They expect me to give a description of a path looking kind of like this. When I confidently reply, I don't know, and describe a path looking kind of like this, they go on to tell me it's okay and that I'll figure it out. Now, at first, I thought this was just to make me feel better, but it turned out to be some pretty good advice. Turns out no one really does know what they're doing. No one knows the path they're going to take, and no one goes along a set, straight path. So the best advice I got was to start somewhere and go with the flow. Try everything, prepare to be rejected, get rejected, and try again. I guess the only way to ever overcome uncertainty is through facing the uncertain. Now, as you know, my path changed a lot from grade 1, where I wanted to be a ballerina. As I experienced life, I became aware of what I didn't want to do, which actually turned out to be pretty helpful in terms of figuring out what I do want to do. All of the experiences in my life have made me who I am today. I've taken a part of each experience and carried it with me. Still, however, I'm asked, more so expected, to decide on my future. I'm forced to find the average of my experiences, bring them together, analyze who I am, understand what I love, reject what I don't love, see where I fit, and then decide what the rest of my life will be. So here's my life-changing advice, my very simple guide to making these big decisions. At times, you're going to have to make a choice, but don't let the weight of making these tough decisions prevent you from living and experiencing. Don't define yourself by a simple definition, and don't be scared to change whatever the definition may be. Sometimes you need to experience life, ride the wave, and in that, decision will make itself for you. Look at me. What am I? According to all my experiences, I'm part makeup artist, part ballerina, part occupational therapist, part architect, part marketer, and so much more. This is me, and I refuse to define myself by one career, one path, and one future.